the majority of his net worth comes from stocks. Okay? People are talking about him being the first trillionaire. I keep seeing it online. People are so fucking retarded when it comes to talking about why Jeff Bezos should give his money away to this person and that person, this person. Well, you didn't deserve to have a kid. You didn't put no money in. You didn't put the work in. You should not have a kid. I don't think everybody should have kids. I feel like they should. A lot of people are not qualified for kids. They shouldn't have kids. Like I said earlier, one of the things that you can tell somebody is toxic is because when they feel bad, they want sex, right? Yeah, should be good.
I've never seen that.
So that was something that we just learned. I don't know what happened, but I don't think we've been recording for like 40 minutes on the audio.
It's crazy.
And I feel like content-wise is one of my best podcasts. I feel like my performance was very good on this podcast.
I mean, this sound recorded on.
This sound, yeah. Oh, Jesus, my chest.
What is that?
Bruh, can't catch a break. Can't catch a fucking break. Why did I not see that? Sucks. When is it? Well, that kind of sucked the wind out of me. I felt like I was in a flow state, and I have to figure out a way to get back into that. So basically, what happened was that the mic wasn't on. Well, it wasn't working for the last 40 minutes or so. That's the first time that's happened. Something about it not recording fast enough. I've never seen that. So yeah. Oh, so this is my issue with things like this, right? It's like, it's annoying that it happened. I know it's a part of the game, so it's gonna happen. Like, it's just something that things go wrong. And I could find ways to say it's your fault. Like, I'm pretty sure if I wanted to find some, I could come up with some, but it's like, I feel like I should, because I know that, I should still be on top of these type of things. So if I'm not, then there's still room for growth for me. But it's just exhausting to like try not to do everything. So then it's just like, but it's like, do you really want this? Are you willing to do everything by yourself? Do you want it that badly? So that's just kind of where my brain is at. Cause I'm like, I don't really think it was your fault. Like, I don't really blame you for it. I don't think you were doing anything. What's the word? Like, I think you were doing your job, but you weren't doing more than your job. And I think that's the only problem. I think you have to be more proactive in the stuff, or more engaged in it, in the things that are going on. But like I said, it's just, I guess I don't think it's your fault. I don't blame you for it. It's just annoying that it happened. It's just like, damn, some good content. That shit was fire. So, me see. So, toxic relationships. This is where, no. I can just, I'll figure it out. I'll come up with something. It's just like, damn, fucking, I didn't know that was a thing that could happen. It's just like, fuck. That's never happened out of any podcast I've ever done. That's never happened. I don't even know what that, like, what could have caused that. I don't even know what that means. Is that a space thing? Like, what is, either way, I'll figure it out later. Okay, so toxic relationships. How to spot them, right? So pretty much, last thing I was saying was, when it comes to spotting a toxic relationship, when you have something that's too much on one side and not 50-50, that's what makes it that is what makes it toxic. Now, people will think that a toxic relationship has to be where somebody is being overbearing, right? Where somebody is saying, you have to do this, you have to do that. If you don't do this, I'm gonna leave you. You ain't shit. That's what people think a toxic relationship is, right? And that's one half of it. That's a form of insecurity, and somebody wants to control people through overt, or I guess bearish means, right? But what people tend to forget, that there's two sides to the coin. And if you study seduction, all the people that seduce and things like that, they aren't all the same. The same thing comes to toxic people. Toxic people can also be people that ask you for things all the time, that make you overextend yourself by using their emotion, by guilting you, right? So they will say like, hey, tell me I look pretty, right? So now they'll make you feel like you have to tell them that they look pretty, and if you don't tell them that they look pretty, you're wrong, right? And at the end of the day, it is not your job to make somebody else feel or look pretty. And people in general, or in society, don't take that into account. People want to put the work on somebody else. So they feel like, well, if somebody else tells me that I look pretty all the time, then I mean that I'm pretty. But if you don't, you should actually be going out to make yourself feel beautiful, make yourself feel phenomenal, make yourself feel amazing, right? That way you don't have to have, when somebody does come and tell you these things, you're like, oh, thank you, I appreciate that, because you already knew that it was a thing, right? So like I said, you have a situation where it should be 50-50, or as close to it as possible, right? So you shouldn't be overextending yourself by trying to make somebody feel good. That's not your job. Your job isn't to make somebody else feel good. Your job is to make sure that you feel good, and that's pretty much it. Like, that's your job. Is not your emotions and your feelings should not be dependent on somebody else. So what will happen is, and this is why relationships used to exhaust me a lot, is because if I have to do all of that stuff and all of that work, then it makes me, it exhausts me, because I'm worrying about if you feel like you're pretty, if you feel like you're smart. I'm worrying about what your mom did. I'm trying to fix all of my problems and your problems. And that's what I believe cause something to be toxic, because I have to overextend, and that's why it becomes exhausting, right? And like I said, that can happen because somebody who's insecure will need you to validate them. So that meter of 50-50, it starts to become, instead of being 50-50 like this, it starts to be like 70-30, I'm doing the work, and then 80-20, I'm doing the validation, to where it's almost, I have to do everything for that person to make them feel like, I guess, they're valuable, make them feel like they're important, make them feel like they're beautiful, smart, and pretty, right? And those are signs of toxic relationship. It's not just about you gonna go outside and you gonna do this for me, you gonna go outside, you gonna do that for me. It's not about those things. That's not only type of toxic relationships that they have, right? So you have to be able to spot those also. One of the ways to be able to tell that okay, how can I put this? When being in a toxic relationship feels like anxiety, right? Now, a way to spot anxiety or to know when you're anxious about something is when you're trying to decide between two different things. This motion right here of going like this is how I view anxiety, right? So 2 days ago on the train, an example of how anxiety would work. This is like the physical version of anxiety. I was on the train and I don't know why, for whatever reason, I don't know why I did this. I was in the LIRR and I put my bike in the handicap section, which I always do, because it's a big enough space for it. That's the only place I can put my bike. And instead of sitting around the bike in that car, I went to the next car to sit in the car, right? So I can still see my bike from the other car. But while I'm in the other car, I kept looking up to see if my bike was there, if it was stolen, if it fell, if somebody moved it, right? Now that's the physical form of anxiety. If I'm on my phone, maybe I'm listening to music or I'm texting somebody, and I keep looking up to go, is my bike there? Is my bike there? Okay, did it fall? Did somebody take it? Is it there? That's anxiety. If I had my bike right next to me, that thought wouldn't even cross my mind, right? So if you're in a relationship with somebody and you have to keep having that feeling of doing this and wondering of what's happening and feel like you're kind of walking, like even on eggshells, you're kind of like, okay, I don't want to step on this eggshell. I don't want to step on that one. I don't want to mess anything up. That's a form of, that's how you can spot a toxic relationship. That's how you know. If you start to feel like that, you're probably in a toxic relationship, right? So one of the problems that people have is they can't identify anxiety. They don't know what it feels like, right? So they just think that it's normal. So a way to identify anxiety is to meditate, right? So when you meditate, you actually know what peace feels like. And once you know what peace feels like, you can then identify what peace does not feel like. And when you don't feel peace, that's how you know that you're probably anxious or something is going wrong. So when you meditate and you actually practice sitting still and know what your body feels like to be still, then whenever you get that jittery feeling of doing like this or going back and forth or walking on eggshells, then you can go, oh, wait, something is making me feel anxious. Something is making me feel sad, depressed, or angry. For me personally, like I said, anxiety to me feels like looking back and forth, trying to step on eggs and not break them. Like that's kind of how anxiety feels. Anger for me feels like my heart in this area gets really hot. I feel it like it's getting like burning or whatever, right? Fear for me kind of is somewhere in my stomach area where it kind of gets maybe tight probably, and excitement might be somewhere closer like over in this area, maybe like it gets kind of fast type of situation, right? But you won't know how you feel under these different circumstances if you don't know what it feels like to be in the middle. So if your whole life you're anxious or you're scared, you're gonna have that one feeling. So to you may think that's your middle. You may think, oh, if I'm anxious or scared all the time, that state of being is how I'm supposed to be. That's how I always feel, because you've never meditated. You don't know what it feels like to just be like a calm sea of water, or not a sea, but maybe a calm pond of water where it's just nothing is happening. It's just perfectly fine. And if you can imagine how that would look, you would say, okay, imagine you have a pond of water and nothing is on it. It's just sitting there. And then you go and you drop a penny on it or something. You'll see the ripples in it and you know exactly where the penny fell, right? Then you can go and identify what is causing this anxiety, what is causing this fear, what is causing this anger. You know where in the pond that is based off of the penny that fell in the water. You can see it moving, right? But if you have the ocean and it's a storm or something and you throw a penny in the ocean, you can't tell what the penny is doing, what kind of feeling that is, because you have so much toxic stuff going on throughout your whole life. When you look around, you're in pretty much a tsunami. So you can't identify what's causing what. Is it working? Because for the majority of your life, you're already in that state of a tsunami. So if you're calm though, it's a lot easier to understand and identify what's happening, and then you can fix that. You can go, oh, I know that penny fell on, I'm gonna just use quadrant 4 of the pond. Let's go over there and figure out what's happening over there in quadrant 4. If I have an ocean and it's a tsunami, and not even, let's bring it to a smaller level. If I have a pond and people are throwing pennies in all over the place, and then I'm supposed to figure out what's happening, it's a lot harder to identify what calm feels like if every day it's just doing this. The ripples are going through the water all day. It's very hard to figure that out. And that's how you can, that's the first step to identifying being in a toxic relationship, right? Now, meditation, I don't really meditate as much, or not what people think it is, where you're like sitting down by yourself or whatever, but I know what being calm feels like. So to practice meditation, it's the act of being still. It's practicing sitting down and only thinking about breathing. Don't think about nothing else. Don't think about where I'm going tomorrow. Don't think about anything else at all. Just think about breathing. That's the only thing you think about. Think about holding your breath, inhaling, right? Inhaling through your nose. Let me see. No, inhale through your mouth. Inhaling through your mouth, right? Hold it for like 7 seconds to 11 seconds, right? And then breathe it out. Inhale through your nose. Inhale through your nose. And then out through your mouth. Yeah. Inhale through your nose, hold it for 7 seconds to 11 seconds, and then exhale through your mouth, right? And that's all you're focusing on. You don't focus on nothing else other than that. That is the only thing your brain should be thinking about, is focusing on that thing, right? So then, once you do that, then you start to realize, okay, when you're finished, what you think about, what did I feel during that? How did I feel calm? What was calm? What did calm feel like when I didn't think about nothing else that caused me anxiety or fear or anger? I only thought about that thing. I was present in that moment. What did that feel like? And then when you identify that, then you'll be able to know when somebody drops a penny in your pond, and you can go, something about that action that you just did made me feel like you dropped a penny in my pond. I don't know what it is about it. I don't know if that was anger, or I don't know if it was excitement. I don't know if it was nervousness or anxiety or fear, but something that you just did dropped that penny in my pond, and I feel that. What is happening? Now, you want to try and identify that so that you can then fix that problem. Once you figure out what's happening, then you can go, okay, I know what's causing this. I can figure that out, and I can assess it so it doesn't happen again. Or I can identify and be able to nip it in the bud very quickly. And that's how you can identify a toxic relationship, right? The more that you feel that, the more toxic it probably is. But again, you won't know it's a toxic relationship until you actually meditate and figure out what it feels like to be calm. Because then you'll be, let's say you're sitting in the house calm, right? And you're like, wow, I feel really good, right? You're like, oh, wow, I feel like amazing. And then boom, that person comes in the house, and you're like, your whole energy, everything changes. Like you just, your everything is, you don't feel the same. You feel like, oh my goodness, you feel like that. You should figure out why that is. There's a reason for that. I feel like when I feel like you have a healthy relationship, it doesn't feel like electricity moving around. It feels like I said earlier, like more like water, just like a flow of water, just moves back and forth. And it was, it's like a Jet Li quote, I think it's Jet Li, where he says to be like water. Like, the water takes a shape of whatever it's in. If it's in a circular bottle, if it's in a square bottle, or if it's in a triangular bottle, that's what it is. So if you have all these bottles connected to each other, and you put it in one of the shapes, right, and it moves, it just goes and flows into whatever it's in. It goes to the next one and flows whatever it's in. And to me, that's what calm feels like. It's not shaking all the bottles around and shaking them up and throwing them around all over the place. That's what anxiety and toxicity feels like. And I feel like you have to be able to understand and identify that thing. One thing I try to work on for me personally is I try not to tell people what to do, right? And when I say that, it's not just a blatant, you do this, you better do this, you better do that. Because I feel like that's the overt version of it. But even small things, I'm working on just being like, can you pass me that? Because at the end of the day, if I say, yo, pass me that water, this is an extreme level of it, but that's a form of toxicity. Because at the end of the day, I'm telling you to do something for me, right? Now, you're going to feel like you have to do that. Now, if you say no to me, I'm probably going to get upset. A reason why people get upset, as far as I know, it's a personal problem all the time, right? If I say, pass me that water, and you say no, that's because I try to enforce my power on you by telling you to pass me that bottle, and you use your power to say no to me. But I felt like I was entitled to that water bottle, right? So that's why I'm going to get upset. So let me drink some water. So if you ask somebody, hey, can you pass me that? Right? Then they can say yes or they can say no. If you ask them the question with the entitlement of thinking that they have to pass it to you, it's the same thing as saying, pass me that. And you can tell the difference because of how you feel with their response. If you say, hey, can you pass me that? And they're like, no. And you get upset, that's because you felt like they had to pass you that thing. Not because you were actually asking them, hey, can you pass that to me? You weren't asking like that. You're pretty much saying, yo, can you pass me that? It's a difference in feeling, and you can tell that depending on how you feel when you ask for the bottle or the remote or the controller, right? And these are identifiers on how to figure out how to be less toxic. And these, like I said, you just do these small things throughout the day. Throughout the day, just go and see how many times somebody says, do this for me or do that for me, and don't ask. They just say things. They just tell you to do things for them, right? And then ask yourself, how many times do you go throughout the day and tell somebody to do something for you and do something for me? And this is a large problem that I feel like it's very hard to fix. And one of the problems of it is that once I ask somebody for something who is a toxic person, they feel like now they have power over me because I asked for something, right? Because a powerful person is somebody that demands things. Give me that water bottle. I'm more powerful than you. Go get that egg for me. Go get that job for me. Go do that. Go do this. That's what a powerful person is perceived to be, somebody that makes demands, right? So if you ask for something, you're pretty much, people interpret that as being powerless. People might feel like, why are you asking? Like, that's weird. Like, don't ask, even though it's been conditioned to do so, right? So that's one side of it, right? And the other side of it is that once somebody tells me to do something like, yo, do that for me, and you say no, they get offended because they feel like now you're being rude, even though you have not, and remember, 50-50, you have not encroached on their space. You have said, all you said was no. They came to your house and said to you, give me your gold. And you was like, no. You didn't do anything wrong by that. If somebody calls your phone and you don't answer, you have no obligation to answer the phone. If somebody's on the phone with you for too long and you want to get off, you can get off the phone. Honestly, if you want to, you can hang up the phone and not say bye. If you want to do that, there's no reason for you to have to say bye if you want to get off the phone. Somebody might call it rude or what, but at the end of the day, it's within your power to do that because you're not doing anything to them. You're just hanging up the phone. Now, I wouldn't advise that because people don't understand that or whatever. It's courteous to say, yo, I'm getting off the phone. But what you'll see is the other person will then encroach on your time and be like, yo, come on, just stay on the phone for 5 more minutes, 10 more minutes, 20 more minutes. Come on, you really got to go. Those are signs of somebody being toxic. If you say you got to go, then you got to go. They should be like, I bet I got you. I'll talk to you later. But it's little things like that. And you'll see that people do little things like that over and over and over again. And then they wonder why they are in the situation that they are in. It's because they either feel like, and again, anybody that chases power like that is an insecure person. Whether you're chasing it through demanding something from somebody or you're chasing power by making somebody to be, if the other version, which would be making somebody feel like they control you, giving them the what's the word I'm looking for? The perception that they control you, or that they validate you, or you're actually bringing them onto your side. You're making yourself dependent on them. But the reason why that's toxic is because they're now exhausted by that. You're sucking all the energy from them. You're not giving anything to them. And like I said, these are different ways to figure out if you're being toxic. There's a lot of other things that come up, but I felt like for boyfriends and girlfriends, these are the most important things to realize because a lot of people don't recognize these things and they have the same problems over and over again and don't know why they're having them. And I think that when somebody gets into a relationship, as much as it's very hard to have a relationship today when both people are independent by themselves, right? And maybe not even so, more so at our age, because I'm 26 now, which I feel like I'm 23, but I'm 26. And it is harder now to have a relationship where both people are independent because people don't have money. And I think money makes life a lot easier for both people to be in a relationship because there isn't that dependent factor on the other person. It's literally just, you have what you have, I have what I have, and I don't feel like I have to compromise on what I have to please you because I don't have the money to support myself. That can breed a toxic relationship because one person will feel insecure, and when a person feels insecure, it starts to what's the word I'm looking for? It starts to I don't want to say increase, maybe multiply, something like that, into other areas of that person's life, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing until the person feels like they are stable. Stable is not toxic. A stable person is not a toxic person. A stable person is a flow of water. You're stable. You're in the middle. You're not going anywhere. That is what it is. That is what you are. But an unstable person, which is a toxic person, is on eggshells. It is a pond that has people jumping in and out the pond. It's a water that's moving back and forth. That's what stable is, and that's what a healthy relationship looks like, when both people are stable. But we, as a generation or our age, most people, they see it and they feel like they should have that too. They want to have a boyfriend, they want to have a girlfriend, they want to have kids, they want to have all these different things, even though they did not put the work into be able to afford a healthy relationship, to be able to afford a nice apartment, to be able to afford maybe a car or so forth, whatever the case might be. People do all of these things and they wonder why when they get them, things are all fucked up. It's because you did not put in the work to be able to have those type of situations. And we feel like we should be entitled to it because why not? Why should I have to self-impose these restrictions of when I should date and who I shouldn't date because I don't have any money? I want to have a kid. Why can't I have a kid? Well, you didn't deserve to have a kid. You didn't put no money in. You didn't put the work in. You should not have a kid. I don't think everybody should have kids. I feel like a lot of people are not qualified for kids and shouldn't have kids. And money is a very important factor in that too. So yeah. Like I said earlier, one of the things that you can tell somebody is toxic is because when they feel bad, they want sex, right? I don't think that people should have sex if people are not horny. Like, I feel like both people should be horny if you're gonna have sex. I think that when sex happens because somebody feels bad, that breeds a toxic environment because sex has now been attached to making somebody being a drug. It's been attached to being a drug to make you feel better when you're depressed or not feeling well, right? As opposed to it being like exercise, or as opposed to it being something healthy for you. It's like, what do you do when you feel good? That's what you should do. If you feel good and you want to have sex, that's when you should have sex. I don't think you should have sex when you feel bad, especially if you do something wrong. I don't think that, and this is what I think that girls, maybe guys do this, probably guys do it too. I'm pretty sure guys do it too, but my experience is with girls. So they will do something wrong, or they will do something that they will do something that they perceive to be wrong, and then they will try to offer sex to solve that, not even the problem, to make the other person or make themselves feel better. And once the sex is done, the problem is not solved. The problem is still there. And that is how you can tell that something is being toxic, because they are trying to use the sex to avoid the actual problem. They figure, if I can have sex with you, then you feel better than that, or you feel better right now. I don't have to worry about that bad thing that I did. So if you're having sex when you don't feel good, chances are, I believe that can be a sign of something toxic, or at least be introspective about it. Figure out, why do I want to have sex right now, even though I'm upset? Because it makes me feel better. What am I trying to have sex to avoid? I should figure that thing out first, get the happiness from that, and then have sex and see if the sex feels different. Because I believe that when you have sex and you feel bad after the sex, you don't feel better. You felt better for that moment. It's like a dopamine hit. You got your drug, you got your cocaine for that second, and it goes away. But you don't get that serotonin release or that feel of accomplishing a goal that you would get if you were actually doing something that was productive. So I feel like, it's a lot of things that people just, I believe, get wrong in the world. And one of those things that, like, people that annoys me the most is this money thing when it comes to Jeff Bezos. Because it's like I really think people are not very smart when it comes to this. And I'm gonna make it I guess as quick and simple as possible. This will be like the Bamboo Project Economics 101, right? That's what I'm gonna call this. It's gonna be a very short segment for this. This is how. If first of all, if you think Jeff Bezos has too much money, I'm gonna explain to you why that's crazy. But here we go. Right. All right. So I have this pillow right here. Right. This pillow right here. It's a pillow. It's not a metaphor for anything. It's just a pillow. Right. Regular pillow. Right. Now, if I sell this pillow to Melissa and she gives me $1 for this pillow is worth $1. Right. Now, if I sell this pillow and Melissa gives me $1 trillion, the pillow is worth $1 trillion. Right. Okay. That is how stocks work. Okay. I cannot go to the store and buy anything with this pillow. Right. The pillow sits here and it's not worth anything. It's not worth anything until I sell this pillow. Okay. That is how Jeff Bezos Money works. Okay. He owns about 10% of Amazon, I think. Something like that. Maybe 10% of Amazon. Which is why his net worth is so high. Right. The majority of his net worth comes from stocks. Okay. People are talking about him being the first trillionaire. I keep seeing it online. People are so fucking retarded when it comes to talking about why Jeff Bezos should give his money away to this person and that person, this person, that person, right? So, how the stock thing works. I feel like, I always forget that everybody does not know these things and they just be saying stuff just because they're not informed about it. But this is how stocks work, right? He has a percentage of the company that he started himself, right? When the company was worth nothing, the 10% he had was worth nothing, right? If he decides that he wants to sell his 10%, he no longer has power in his own company, right? But everybody feels like he should spend the money that he doesn't have of $116 billion in his account. He does not have $116 billion of liquid assets, which is money to go and spend on anything. If he decides he wants to sell off his shares, he's going to lose the power he has in his own company. Okay? He won't be able to make the same decisions that he makes now because he will not have the same power if he sells it off. The money that he has is tied directly, for the most part, to his stocks, right? Now, if people want Jeff Bezos to give people money, just to give everybody money, right? Now, how long do people want him to do this for? They want him to give who money for what? They want him to give Africans money, breast cancer people money. They want him to give money to the homeless, give money to the people who are hungry in this country, in that state, and they feel like, oh, he's gonna be the first trillionaire. Listen, the government of the United States of America just gave away $2 trillion. Or I don't know, maybe it was two the first time, right? The first stimulus check. Okay? All the money they gave us, we already spent it. We already spent $1 trillion that Jeff Bezos does not have yet. We already spent all of that money already, right? Now, if Jeff Bezos say, you know what? I was on Twitter today and I realized that I'm living my life wrong. I was on Facebook and I saw the post. I got you. I'm going to fix this problem. I am going to sell off all of my shares of my company. So I now own 0 shares of my company and I have no power in my company. And now I have all this $116 billion in cash. And by the way, just to let you guys know, the minute that Jeff Bezos sells a bunch of Amazon stock, his net worth will drop because everybody will be like, why is he selling it? I'm selling it too. And the value of the company will drop. I don't know how much. Let's speculate. If Jeff Bezos decides to sell off 5% of his assets, of his stock, right? Let's just say that the stock went from $1,000 to $200, right? So the money that he has, the $100 billion he had before, will be worth maybe $20 billion or something like that, right? Maybe even less than that. The math, I'm just throwing numbers around right now, right? The point of what I'm trying to make is that when he starts to sell, because everybody on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter says he has too much money, his money that he's getting off of selling his stocks will decrease. So he wanted to be able to give the money that people think he has away. But let's say he keeps all $116 billion and decide, you know what? I'm going to give it away to everybody else. He does that, right? The $2 trillion that he doesn't even have. He has a tenth of what the government gave to all of America, right? And they still need more. So who is he supposed to save with this $115 billion? Who's he going to give it to? He can't save the whole world because clearly we can't even save America with $2 trillion. And we have to add another 3 on top of that. So we have $5 trillion for America to survive a couple of months. And we can't even survive a couple of months with $5 trillion. But we want Jeff Bezos to take all his money that he has of his company, his stocks, not actual money, and give it to all these people in need. That's what we want. And we feel like, well, it's wrong that he has all this money and people are dying of hunger and people are poor and the wage gap and all other bullshit. He does not have $100 billion in his bank account. Money for poor people like yourself does not work the same way as money for people. For money does not work the same way as it does for people who are rich. Their money is not in a bank account like yours. They don't. All their money is not. Hey, let me just go to get my credit card, my debit card, and just swipe my $100 billion and just go spend it. That's not how that works. Their money is tied up in assets. If I buy a house for $100,000, if I get a loan for a house for $40,000, and I buy a house for $100,000, I now have that net worth tied to my assets. Right? The net worth of that house goes to my net worth. Do I have $100,000 in my bank? No. Until I sell the house, I can't do anything but have a house. I can't go out to the mall. I can't go out to the restaurants. I can't go out and get prostitutes. I can't do anything until I sell the house. That's how stocks work. Okay? Y'all are fucking stupid. Y'all are retarded. Y'all are fucking dumb. Anybody that thinks that Bezos has too much money is an idiot. Y'all are dumb. I don't know what's wrong with y'all. He built a company that is worth a lot of money, and he owns a lot of the company. That's it. Y'all are fucking retarded. Every time I see that online, I'm like, y'all are the dumbest people I've ever seen. Like, what is wrong with you? How is it that y'all even why would y'all think that he has $100 billion? Yeah. Again, people are not financially informed. This is why that happens. I get annoyed when I see stuff like that. So, but yeah, that's what I want to end the podcast on today. Like I said, I think that little thing that happened, we're gonna see how the audio comes out because we have no idea how the audio is gonna be. I'm excited to see what happens with that. But I think this is a good podcast. How much time is left? Or how much is it? What's it at now?
It's an hour and 53 minutes. Less than that.
Okay. So yeah, that was a good podcast. We're gonna try. Like I said, I think the camera stayed on for the whole time, so that's good. And then the mic shut off. So, like I said, if you want to start a business like Amazon, because y'all are fucking dumb, things happen, bad things happen, and you have to keep going. That's it. Now, next week we're gonna figure out why the fuck this happened. Well, not next week. Today we're gonna figure out why the fuck this happened, and we're gonna try and make sure it doesn't happen again next week. And going forward, we're gonna try and fix these problems. Like I said, we got the camera problem down. I think the last video, the camera went out for like half a second. Maybe you saw it, maybe you didn't. It was like a quarter of a second. It was a quick little black, and then it was gone. You couldn't even notice it. But this time, full camera, we're good. We're going. Audio, little wonky. We're gonna figure that out. So you can catch me and follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Donivan Gray. That's DONIVAN GRAY. I'm gonna stop tapping. They probably can't hear me when I tap it. DONIVAN GRAY. That's Instagram and Twitter. Melissa, you can find her on Anita Burn now. What is it? ANETABURN. Okay. And you said to not say the YouTube channel? No, say the YouTube channel, but not the. On YouTube, you can find us at the Bamboo Project. If you want to find out the food that we eat to stay healthy, if you want to find out the people for women who are out there, Melissa has some very beautiful natural hair. She has hair videos. She has makeup videos. If you want to see the audio, the visual of this podcast, YouTube channel, and it's something else on there too. music. Like I said, we're gonna put all the shit right here. All the projects. We got music, we got clothes, we got podcasts, we got food. It's a lot of stuff. So sports, fitness. Forgot about those. So yeah, we get into it. Can you scroll down? Sure, I'm done. Finances. That's coming next year probably. So that wraps up episode 9 of the Bamboo Project podcast. The Bamboo Project out. So.